Okay, so AI and mental health care, huh? Feels like we're stepping into the future today. And we've got expert speaker back with us to, make sense of it all. Welcome back. Always feels like there's something new happening with AI, but this feels different, right?
It really does. I mean, the potential here to make a real difference for people is huge, and we're really just getting started.
Totally. I mean, you've got everything from apps that can personalize your meditation routine to get this algorithms that might be able to actually predict mental health issues way before they even become serious. That last one, I got to admit, it's a little Black Mirror, but also kind of amazing. Where do we even begin?
Well, let's start with something, a little less out there. Let's talk about AI companions. These
Yeah.
aren't some futuristic fantasy. They're already here. They're already helping people.
Right, like I've seen Wobot and Wysa popping up everywhere these days. Are those actually like therapy bots?
They use techniques, actual proven techniques from cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT. So you've got this tool that can, say, help you reframe those negative thought spirals all in the palm of your hand. Think of it like having a little, I don't know, a little nudge in the right direction any time of day or night.
So it's not just like spitting out generic advice, it's using actual therapy methods.
Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty cool. And the fact that it's available 24/7, that's huge. I mean, not everyone has a therapist on speed dial. And sometimes you just need that support right then,
Right.
even if it's 2 a.m.
Exactly. That's a big part of the appeal, that constant accessibility. And they use conversational AI, so it's not just a one-way street. They can have these back and forth dialogues with you, learn your patterns, and then tailor their responses based on like how you're feeling in that moment.
Whoa, so it's not one size fits all. It actually adapts to you.
That's the goal, that personalization.
Yeah.
But it's so important to remember, and we'll keep hammering this home, AI companions are not meant to replace a human therapist.
Right. More like a bridge, maybe. Like something to help you between sessions or when you just need, I don't know, like a sounding board that won't judge.
And that can be so valuable for people. Think about the people who might not feel comfortable, at least not yet, reaching out to a person for help. Maybe it's stigma, maybe
Yeah.
it's cost, maybe it's just feeling overwhelmed.
Meeting people where they are, which is so important, especially with mental health. You know what else we're seeing AI in these days? Those mindfulness apps everyone and their mother uses. Calm, Headspace. It's like they become verbs or something.
Oh, absolutely. And AI is a big part of what makes those so effective. I mean, instead of scrolling endlessly through a million different meditation options, imagine an app that actually gets to know you, learns your patterns, right?
Uh-huh.
And then, boom, it suggests something tailored for you, for how you're feeling right then and there.
Okay, yeah, that is next level. It's like having your own personal meditation guru in your pocket who can sense when you're about to lose it. But how does that even work? Is it like mood rings and biofeedback?
Think about it. These apps, they're tracking everything. When you meditate, what kind of meditations you're drawn to, how long you stick with them. Some even integrate data from wearables like your heart rate, right?
Mhm.
So it's really about using all of that to give you a truly personalized experience.
So less about like magic crystals, more about really, really smart pattern recognition. Okay, I'm picking up what you're putting down, but does it actually work? I mean, does AI-powered meditation actually make a difference?
It's like anything else with mental health, right? It works best when you're an active participant. Let the AI learn your thing, think of it as a partnership.
Yeah.
But it's not about replacing that connection you might find with a real-life teacher, more like enhancing the experience, making it more accessible.
Accessibility, there's that word again.
Mm.
And speaking of which, let's talk about something that's both super promising and, I'll be honest, a little bit creepy.
Mm-hmm.
Using AI to actually predict potential mental health issues. Is that like a real thing, or are we just in science fiction territory here?
Oh, it's real. And it's one of the most exciting and, yeah, potentially transformative applications of AI in this space. We're talking about taking data from all over digital platforms, social media, even things like voice tone analysis to find patterns that could, signal an increased risk of a mental health issue developing.
Okay, I need you to break this down for me. What kind of data are we talking, and how on earth can that predict something as complex as, like, mental health?
Think about all the digital breadcrumbs we leave behind every single day, right? AI can analyze things like, say, how fast you're typing, the words you're using in tests or social media posts, even the way your voice sounds in voicemails. These things, they can subtly shift when we're stressed or struggling.
So, like, if my usual, like, chatty texting style suddenly becomes super short and to the point,
Yeah.
that could be like a red flag.
Could be one piece of the puzzle, yeah. The key here is that AI is looking for patterns and also deviations from those patterns. We're not talking about making diagnoses based on one text message, okay?
Right.
It's about the bigger picture over time.
Okay. Okay, that makes me feel a little better. But it does make you think about the whole ethical side of things. What if the AI gets it wrong? Are we heading into a future where people are labeled as, like, high risk based on a couple of sad tweets? That feels, I don't know, a little icky.
It's a super valid concern. And it all comes down to how these systems are built, right? Transparency is huge here.
Hmm.
Being clear about what data is being collected, how it's being used, how it's being kept secure. Encryption, secure storage, strict access controls, all of that is absolutely crucial.
Okay, that makes me feel a little less like I need to throw my phone in the ocean. Because on one hand, catching these things early is amazing, but you don't want people to be afraid to, like, express themselves online because they think some algorithm's going to misinterpret them.
100%. It's a balance, for sure. But the potential upsides, they're enormous. Think about it. A world where we can use this technology to identify those who might be struggling in silence, get them help earlier, offer support.
Okay, yeah, that's a really powerful thought. It's like almost like moving from a reactive approach to mental health care to a more proactive, even preventative one, you know?
Exactly. And that's where the real game changer is. But it takes a lot of thoughtfulness, right? We can't just throw technology at the problem and hope for the best. We've got to think about the ethics, the potential downsides, everything. And it's not just about catching things early either. We could be talking about AI totally revolutionizing the way treatment and support work too. I mean, imagine therapists having access to these incredible AI-driven insights, right? What could that do for personalized treatment plans? The possibilities are pretty mind-blowing.
So instead of replacing therapists, AI becomes like this secret weapon they have to help people even more. And it makes me think about, how many times I've tried to explain my anxiety to a therapist and they're like taking notes, trying to connect the dots. What if AI could help them cut through all that and get to the good stuff faster?
Exactly. Sleep patterns, activity levels, even just the way someone communicates. AI can pick up on those things, analyze them in a way humans just can't, and suddenly therapists have this whole other level of understanding about their clients.
It's like giving therapists a superpower, right?
Yeah.
They could see things they might have missed before, intervene sooner, be more effective. Okay, I'm on board with all of that. But there's that human element too.
Hmm.
Part of therapy, at least for me, is that connection with another person, that feeling of being heard, really gotten. Can AI really replicate that?
You're hitting on a really important point. And honestly, I don't think anything can truly replace that human connection, but that's not the goal here, right? We're talking about using AI to make human capabilities even better, not to replace humans altogether.
Finding that balance then.
Oh,
Using all this incredible technology, but not losing sight of what makes therapy so powerful in the first place.
exactly. Synergy. That's what we're going for. AI and human expertise working together, each one making the other stronger.
Okay, I like that. So we've got AI companions, mindfulness apps, even this whole like mind-blowing world of predictive analytics. Is there anything AI can't do in this space? Are there limitations we haven't even touched on yet?
Well, it's still early days for AI, especially in a field as complex as mental health, right? So we need to be realistic about what it can and can't do, even as we're getting excited about the possibilities.
So what are some of the speed bumps, the things we need to be wary of as this all keeps developing?
One of the big ones is making sure these systems are being developed responsibly, ethically. Like, are we training these AI systems on diverse enough data sets to avoid bias? Are we constantly checking them for accuracy, for fairness? That's crucial.
Right, because the last thing anyone wants is AI that just ends up reflecting all the same biases and inequalities that are already, baked into our mental health care system.
Exactly. And beyond that, it's about transparency, giving users control. People deserve to understand how their data is being used, how it's being
Mhm.
protected. No one should feel like they're in the dark.
It's about empowering people,
Mm-hmm.
right? Giving them the information they need to make informed choices about their own mental health care, including how technology plays a role.
100%. We're not talking about handing control over to algorithms here. It's about giving people tools, insights that they can use to, kind of take charge of their own well-being.
Speaking of tools, let's circle back to those AI companions for a minute. We've talked about them in a general sense, but I'm curious about the nitty-gritty. What's it actually like to use one?
Sure. Let's take Wobot as an example. It's designed to help people manage anxiety and depression using those CBT principles we were talking about earlier. So when you first start using it, it's kind of like Having a conversation with this friendly guide who's not there to judge.
Like I don't know, like a digital intake process
Yeah.
almost.
Yeah, exactly. It asks about you, what you're hoping to get out of it, all that good stuff. And then it starts to, engage you in these conversations. And the goal is to help you pinpoint those thought patterns that might not be serving you and then start to develop some healthier coping mechanisms.
So it's not just a place to like vent into the void. It's actually teaching you stuff, like actual techniques.
Right. It might say, walk you through something called cognitive restructuring, which basically helps you reframe those negative thoughts. Right. Or maybe it introduces you to behavioral activation, which is all about encouraging you to do things that actually, boost your
And
mood.
this is all happening through like a chatbot.
Yep. And Wobot uses this really clever conversational AI, so it feels surprisingly human. There's even like humor, empathy woven in. It can be really effective.
That's interesting because I could see that being really appealing to someone who might be intimidated by the thought of traditional therapy,
Hmm.
or even just like the idea of opening up to another human being. It feels lower stakes somehow.
Right. Totally. That barrier to entry is lower. It can be a lot less intimidating to share what you're going through with a chatbot, at least at first. And, for some people, it might even be that stepping stone that helps them feel ready to seek out other types of support.
Like dipping their toes in the water before they, jump in the deep end.
Hmm.
Love that. Are there other AI companions out there doing cool things in this space?
Definitely. Weiss is another one that comes to mind. They use a slightly different approach. For one thing, their interface is this adorable penguin avatar.
Hold on, a therapy penguin. I am here for this. Tell me more.
I know, right? It sounds kind of gimmicky, but it actually works. Weiss is designed to feel more like you're chatting with a supportive friend than, a therapist in an office. They use a technique called active listening, where it's reflecting back what you're saying, asking clarifying questions, really helping you process things.
So less about like specific therapeutic strategies and more about just creating that safe, supportive space for someone to like get their feelings out.
Exactly. Sometimes just feeling heard can be incredibly therapeutic in itself, right? And that penguin avatar, as silly as it sounds, it makes it feel approachable, engaging, especially for, say, younger people or anyone who might feel put off by something that feels too clinical.
It's wild how each of these AI companions has like its own vibe, its own approach. But you've touched on something really important throughout this whole conversation. User experience.
Yeah.
I mean, if people don't feel comfortable using these tools, if they're not engaging, it doesn't matter how fancy the technology is, right?
Couldn't agree more. User experience is everything. We're talking about designing these tools with empathy, meeting people where they are, and that takes real thoughtfulness.
It's about making the technology itself kind of disappear, right?
Yeah.
So that people can just focus on what matters,
Yeah.
taking care of themselves.
Exactly. If it's intuitive, engaging, maybe even enjoyable to use, then it's more likely to actually become part of someone's routine, something that actually makes a difference.
It really feels like we're on the edge of like a whole new world of self-care.
Yeah.
Personalized, accessible, it's kind of amazing and a little hard to wrap your head around all at once.
It really is. And the pace of innovation in this space, it's incredible. But I think it's important to keep in mind, technology is just one piece of the puzzle, right? When we're talking about something as big and essential as mental well-being.
Totally. We can't just like download an app and call it a day, as much as I wish we could sometimes.
Yeah.
So as we start to wrap up here, is there, I don't know, one big takeaway you want to leave people with? What should our listeners be thinking about as they, try to navigate this whole new world of AI and mental health care?
I think the most important thing is to approach it all with a healthy dose of, I don't know, curiosity, but also skepticism.
Right.
Be open to the possibilities, absolutely. But don't just buy into the hype blindly. Do your research, ask questions, and listen to your gut. If something doesn't feel right, trust that instinct.
Love that. Be an informed consumer, not just of like products and services, but of mental health care itself.
Mm.
And I think part of that is remembering AI is a tool, right? It can be this incredibly powerful tool,
Yeah.
but ultimately it's up to us to make sure it's being used wisely, ethically.
Exactly. These conversations about the ethics of it all, about responsibility, those need to be happening right alongside all the amazing technological advancements. And everybody needs a seat at the table for those conversations, not just the tech people.
Because at the end of the day, this is about people, right? It's about making sure everyone has access to the support they need,
Yeah.
making mental health care more effective, more equitable. That's what matters.
Absolutely. Technology should be a bridge to better mental health, not an obstacle.
I love that. A bridge to better mental health. Expert speaker, thank you so much for, geeking out with me on all of this. It's been such a great conversation, as always.
Always a pleasure.
And to our listeners, we hope this has given you a lot to think about. What are your hopes? What are your concerns as AI becomes a bigger part of mental health care? We want to hear from you. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other.